Okay, welcome everybody to NY-GEO's August Lunch and Learn. My name is Christine Hoffer. I'm the Executive Director for the New York Geothermal Energy Organization. And we started this Lunch and Learn program earlier this year. So this is our 8th one, I believe. And so far, so good. We appreciate our members and others stepping forward to share with us important details that will help our industry grow, the ground source heat pump industry in New York State. And I'll introduce our speakers in just a minute. But the program today is AI Readiness. Where does your business actually stand? A practical assessment framework for mid-market companies, which means absolutely nothing to me. So I'm excited to learn a lot. For those of you that are on the call that are not NY-GEO members, we are a not-for-profit 501c6 organization, the trade association representing ground source heat pumps and geothermal in New York State. Membership is more than just your dollars, it's your voice. We have a lot of legislative issues happening right now, and your voice lends credibility to those things that we're trying to advocate for, such as the mapping of leak-prone pipes in New York State, GREX. It's legislation that's on the floor now. We have a Senate sponsor, and the policy committee is working towards an assembly sponsor and fine-tuning the language, which will be, if we get GREX in New York State, it's going to be fabulous. We work very hard on drilling regulations. It is because of NY-GEO that buildings that want and need to go deeper than 500 feet where they're drilling are allowed to do that. Workforce development. We have 2 grants that we're working on. One we've received, one we're waiting on funding, and that is to provide ground source heat pump training at all levels. And with the new ISHPA certification, drilling down the AI allows for, I think, accessibility for entry-level ground source heat pump individuals, which I'm excited about. And our NY-GEO conference, which is in April of 2027. We have another program that happens bi-weekly on Fridays. The next program is this Friday. It's called Let's Talk, and JR is still on the call. That is run by JR, who's our Director of Operations. It's pretty much just an open conversation about what's taking place in an industry. Ron Kamen, who's on the call, participates pretty frequently. It's just a way to bounce ideas off one another and just chat with other people in the industry. I'll drop links to all of this stuff in the chat as our presentation's happening. As I mentioned, we do have our conference. NY-GEO will be in Saratoga Springs this year, April 26th to the 28th. On Monday the 26th is pre-conference site tours and a drilling demonstration day. We have added an exhibitor mixer to that day to add a little bit more value to our exhibiting participants. And we're looking at doing a program where we invite non-traditional people that would be coming to our conference to come to the conference. So HVAC contractors that are not currently doing geothermal or are doing a little bit of geothermal, mechanical contractors, distributors, et cetera. So people that may not have the 2 days to come to our conference, but we really want to engage them in geothermal. And then Tuesday and Wednesday will be the full education conference with track.
Hello, hey, how are you?
And then Wednesday, the same thing. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our 2 presenters today. So Brad Steer is with Concurrent AI, and he'll introduce David Day, who will be our primary speaker today with Elevate Tech Consulting Group. So take it away, Brad.
Thank you, Christine. And thank you, everybody, for attending today's session on AI readiness and, where does your business actually stand? If you remember, and if you attended the NY-GEO 2026 in Brooklyn, Concurrent AI did a presentation on March 25th, along with a couple of the folks on this call to talk about AI, the current state of AI, and its applications to the geothermal industry. And in that presentation that I provided, I actually did a survey of the team, of the attendees in the audience, and asked how many people are actually utilizing AI And about 80% of the hands shut up and said, yes, we're using AI in our personal lives. But only about half said they were utilizing some type of AI in their professional lives. And if they're utilizing AI, it was going to be around the notion of generative AI, Open Chat GPT, and and as I polled some of the folks after the presentation, and talked with the New York-GEO members, and I am a New York-GEO member as well, and Concurrent AI is. They said, look, we're trying to find a place to start. We're trying to figure out what we do first, and how we use this to improve our business, and have a path toward utilizing it in projects externally when we're doing geothermal projects. So that got us to thinking about, how do we create um, a program, and we're announcing this today for the first time with the New York-GEO group, to, go through an AI readiness status for your business, with the potential to lead to how you might utilize that in your own workflows internally, but then how would you utilize that in your, external processes with your clients. So we're going to go to the next slide, and I'll just run you through the presentation framework and the agenda. So David Day is going to be presenting the AI readiness assessment. David is a principal at Elevate Tech and is working with Concurrent AI with this program to, talk about ways in which we might be able to assess and help your business in getting started. So when I turn this over to David, David's going to go through the actual process and the AI readiness assessment process and what that looks like, give you a few practical examples of, things that he's working on that might be beneficial to your business. And then I will take the latter half of the presentation to talk about, ways in which you can utilize agentic AI and agents in support of your external projects and workflows, for your, geothermal projects. We are going to take Q&A at the end. So if you can hold your questions to the end, we'll answer them. You can put them in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer them. So I would think we have 10 slides here. I would think it's going to take us about 25, 30 minutes to get through that with some Q&A at the end. So with that, I will turn it over to David, and David will start with the why readiness concept of the AI readiness assessment. So David, take it away.
Just before, I'm sorry, David, just before you
Yeah.
start, for everybody, if you do have a question, I'm going to ask you to also type it into chat, unless it's a really long, convoluted. Just that way we capture the question in our chat function as well. So thank you. Sorry, David.
No problem. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Christine, and thanks New-York-GEO team for having us today. Before I would say before you talk about which AI tool to buy or which pilot to run, I want you to ask a more useful question. So not should we do AI, because I think everybody is talking about it, right? Everyone knows the answer to that. If you don't use AI, you're going to get left behind. The real question, though, I think that you should be asking is, where does your business actually stand today, and what would make it ready to implement AI? So that's what today is about. It's a practical way to measure your readiness, and that is what our assessment does. It's how to see it scored, and it's how to turn that score into a plan that you actually run. Quick background on me, I've spent the last decade helping mid-market companies in a variety of different industries make sharper technology decisions, offering fractional CI work, technology assessments, and lately a lot of AI readiness. The through line is really simple. Technology decisions are business decisions. So just checking my slide. So I think I covered everything there. Can you go to the next slide, please, Christine? Um, So the 6 pillars. Oh, I skipped a slide. So here's what I keep saying. Everyone's being told about AI. Your board, your peers, every vendor is offering their AI services. So companies want to jump straight to a tool. They want to run a pilot, and a lot of times that either quietly dies or loudly dies. Nobody's impressed. It doesn't get renewed. You're seeing in the news every day AI failure after AI failure. Um, the reason these are failing is not necessarily because of the tools that they're choosing. More often than not, it's the readiness of the company. And so that's where our 6 pillars of readiness really come in. So AI amplifies whatever operation it lands in. If you have clean data, documented processes, a team that's aligned, AI will amplify that. But at the same time, if you have data discrepancies, automations that aren't effective, any type of people and systems that are not optimally in place, AI will amplify that too. So essentially what it does is it makes a mess for you, but faster. So these are the 6 pillars that we evaluate every company on. And I'll keep each one kind of short, but strategy and leadership. Is there a real AI strategy? So people are always saying, and this is a newer thing, but I want to implement AI. Why do you want to implement AI, right? Is there a named owner? Is there a budget? Or is it just enthusiasm and maybe fear of being left out? 2 is data readiness. So where does your data actually live? Can you trust your data? And how fast can you get an answer out of it? And obviously, AI can make that faster, but again, if the data is not clean and clear, you're just going to get bad data faster. 3 is technology and infrastructure. So your cloud posture, how well your systems talk to each other, security, and what AI would actually plug into. So every business is going to be different, but effectively, AI needs to talk to your systems to get your data, and your data needs to be clean. So that all needs to be within the technology and infrastructure. Talent, culture, and change. So that's whether your team can actually absorb a new tool, whether they have successfully done it before. A lot of times, especially with older companies, they have outdated systems. One person kind of holds all the knowledge for everything, and new technology is not really something that's been implemented in the business for a very long time. And so our 4th pillar is really identifying, can your business and talent absorb that change and make it a cultural change. 5 is process maturity. So do you have standard operating procedures? What is documented? What is repetitive? And what only works because, again, one person may know how to do it. Those are risks in AI implementation. You need really clear process documentation. And then 6 is risk, compliance, and ethics. So the guardrails, the acceptable use rules, and the lines that AI has to operate inside. So there's 6 pillars, 8 questions for each pillar. That's 48 specific dimensions, and everyone gets scored from evidence, not opinion. So let me show you how that scoring actually works. Christine, could you go to the next slide, please? So I made the math pretty simple on purpose. There's 8 pillars, or 8 questions per pillar, 6 pillars, each rated 1 to 4. And so that gives every pillar a score out of 32, which becomes a percentage. And the average of the 6 pillars gives you your overall readiness number. That number then places you within a tier. I've created 5 tiers from foundational at the bottom to leading at the top. So if you take a look at this sample scorecard here, it's illustrative of a $10 million regional geothermal installer assessed across all 6 pillars. And you can read it at a glance. So technology is their strongest pillar at 56%. Risk and compliance is their weakest at 25%. And overall, they land at 40%, which is a tier 2 developing. So they've taken the next step from foundational, and they are moving into a realm where parts of their business could potentially be ready for AI. So here's what I want you to hear. Most companies will land in tier 2 or tier 3. That's not a failing grade. It's a map, right? So it's a way to identify what areas you can move forward with, but it's also a way to see which pillars you want to shore up first. So which use cases you can pilot now without waiting on everything else. So in this example, technology and infrastructure is a core foundation of their business. And those are areas that they could work on automation and optimization within AI. So with a real report, one of these scores carries the evidence line behind it. It's quoted from your own team's interviews, so it's very hard to argue with. And it's because it's your own words, it's kind of the fact of the business. So once you have that score, what do you actually do with it? Christine, could you go to the next slide, please? So what you get and where to start. Essentially, the assessment gives you 4 things that you can act on. A scored baseline across all 48 dimensions with the evidence behind each score so that you can remeasure next year and prove you moved, right? Because, as you're growing and scaling, you want to prove that the choices that you're making are benefiting the company. So it's findings in your own team's words. It's 3 to 5 AI use cases ranked by return and by how feasible they are, and a sequenced roadmap for implementing AI across the business. So let me spend a moment on that roadmap. It runs in 3 phases over about 240 days. Phase 1 is foundational. Days 1 to 60 fix the 2 or 3 readiness gaps that block everything else. So in the previous example, I believe it was risk. That would be the foundation that you would focus on so that it could get up to speed with the rest of the business. Everything, data hygiene, process documentation, basic acceptable use policy are all focuses of that foundation. Phase 2 is pilot. So days 60 to 120, take 1 or 2 use cases off the ranked list and run them as real pilots with an owner, a success metric, a decision date, and then phase 3, we expand on that. So days 120 to 240, we scale what works, we retire what did not, and we fold AI into how you operate instead of running it as a side project. The sequencing is the whole point of this. The quick wins generate the data and the confidence that de-risk the bigger moves later. So if this is useful, there's 3 ways to really start on this. The lightest is a 30-minute readiness conversation. We don't charge for that. There's no homework. We map your situation against 6 pillars. The next step would be running the full assessment, structured interviews with your leadership team, scored across all 48 dimensions, delivered in about 3 weeks. And from there, we move on to the actual roadmap with whatever level of support your tier actually calls for. So defined by the assessment, we build that roadmap so that we could potentially help you, or you could go and do it yourself. So that's really the framework. It's where you stand, it's how we measure it, and it's how you get from a score to working AI in your business. And that's what I have there. So let me pass it off to Brad, and he can take it from there.
Thank you, David. So for the New-York-GEO group itself, before I get into the slide, we're going to offer the 30-minute assessment on a free basis if you want to have that discussion with us. I will, at the end of this presentation, show you where you can, either contact us or fill out a form. If you want to engage in, the actual AI readiness assessment, that's an engagement. We have a process for that where we can, send you a statement of work, have you sign off on that, and then we'll begin working with your team in your group. So we just spent quite a bit of time talking about your internal, business workflows and your readiness for AI. And everybody's in, as David said, in different stages. We have just brought some rigor and some scoring to that, to create a map for all sizes of companies and all sizes of companies that are trying to deploy AI. What I'm going to talk about next is taking the leap into agentic AI and utilizing agents, and I'll call them digital workers, to support your external workflows. And if you think of agentic AI as building digital workers for knowledge synthesis, intelligent collaboration, and workflow automation, is a way in which to think about how you take your business to the next level and utilize this externally, to reduce your cost, improve your, time to revenue, and reduce your risk in processes that a human may be doing right now, but a human with a digital worker utilizing what we call artificial intelligence or AI is a force multiplier. And that's something I know John had talked about at the New-York-GEO conference, is really, really important for geothermal and its members going forward. So simply, Concurrent AI has developed a series of agents that can ingest and synthesize your data on a project, as an example, and can help you to align standards, specs, codes, research, etc., into structured, actionable knowledge sets that the agent in the digital worker is going to manage as a task. And once we've done that, once we have the ingestion of the project and the information you're working on, you have agents that are going to help collaborate on that task and reason and learn and work in parallel workflows to accelerate decision-making process and creating efficiencies where a human may be doing it, but a human with a digital worker at its side is going to be much more efficient and effective in developing an enhanced workflow to support your external project. And finally, Concurrent AI has spent 18 months specifically in the geothermal sector, creating workflow automations where we're utilizing these knowledge sets to power autonomous agents to execute on specific tasks like permitting, regulatory and compliance, incentives, the ability to engage stakeholders both internally and externally, if you need that with a community project. And we have done that very effectively across the board, specifically for use cases in the geothermal realm. So let me go to the next slide, and I'll talk about what that looks like. So for those of you that were at the March 25th NY-GEO Brooklyn conference, I presented this slide. It gives you an example of a geothermal electric power plant and the pre-construction process. And I think we all know that the pre-construction process in geothermal can become very inefficient. It is prone to create risk that is going to carry through the entire project and is going to suboptimize your ability to get to ground and to get to revenue. And a conventional geothermal process for a electric power plant in this example is 2 to 4 years. The cost in the pre-construction process, just in the pre-construction process, it can run from anywhere from $6 to $24 million, and includes everything around permitting and regulation, technology readiness, seismic analyses, PPAs, things that you would necessarily equate with a very large geothermal process. And the pre-construction phase is a critical phase in setting up the foundation for this geothermal platform. So we have developed very specific, and I'll go to the next slide now, agents that will help you with manifesting this, I'll call paradigm shift with humans and digital workers to create efficiencies. And we can see anywhere from a 50 to 60% reduction in the time spent in areas around permitting, regulation, compliance, incentives, and community engagement in utilizing the agents and the digital workers with the humans to rapidly accelerate the process. And the cost in doing that is going to reduce your cost in the pre-construction phase anywhere from 70 to 84%. So this Stanford paper that we're quoting here, the AI-centric models outperformed, conventional geothermal projects cost by 27% and reduced data acquisition by 35%. And the agentic methods are going to take the time down to 1 to 2 years, and the cost is going to be $950K to $3.8 million, which is that 70 to 84% reduction that we talked about, with orchestration of agents around regulatory compliance, automating scenario modeling for you as you're going through the build, and levelizing cost of energy analysis as part of the workflows that we have developed. So we have, again, spent 18 months developing these digital workers, agents, and workflows to support it. And let me go to the next slide just to talk through, how you might learn more about Concurrent AI and learn more about the readiness assessment. So in this slide, if you want to take a look at, the things that we're doing in the geothermal realm, you'll see a landing page there under Learn More. There is a form in that actual link that will provide you with information around, I think we're trying to get to that slide. Okay, thank you. Information, there's a form there that you can fill out if you'd like, and we will respond to you either on the AI readiness scenario or the Concurrent AI agentic platform for your external projects. And if you just want to contact us via email, if that's easier for you, there's a email here, contact us at Concurrent Build AI, which will give you the ability for us to answer any questions you might have either on the AI readiness assessment process or the Concurrent AI platform for geothermal. So I think that concludes our full presentation. I think the next step is if you all have questions, you can put those into the chat. We'd be happy to answer them. And if you'd like to do it verbally as well, we're happy to answer questions that you have verbally. But if you can put it in the chat, that would be helpful to us.
Yeah, so both. Ron has a question which he did put in chat, so thank you, Ron. But if you can go ahead and just verbally ask your question as well.
Sure, this is great on the power plant side. Do you have anything on the geothermal heating and cooling side? Have you guys done anything there?
Yes, we do. That was just an illustrative example. We're happy to provide you with use case examples on the geothermal heating and power side. Yeah, we can do
That'd
that.
be helpful. Yep.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Anybody else have any?
Ron has another one.
I'll ask another one. So how
Okay.
do you guys deal with the security issues that are happening now with AI breaking out, taking control of people's financials, blah, 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 whatever else, private data and sharing it or doing something else?
I'll turn that over to David.
Ron, so security is definitely part of the AI readiness assessment. What we're seeing is, like you're saying, a ton of leaks on the AI side. So when we're actually looking for implementation partners for different AI platforms and services, we're making sure that they, have encrypted data. We're looking at, local implementation. So you're not implementing AI outside of your environment. There's, protocols for what kind of data is going into an AI system. Who in the team has the ability to enter information. And then there's other, services around AI where when you paste company data, there's ways to encrypt data even within the chats of AI. So there's a lot of layers to the security piece, but it's definitely a core pillar is how secure is the data? How do we keep it secure? And how do we keep nefarious people from accessing our data? I don't know if that answers your question or not, but.
It's part of it, and then the other part of it is, some of these AIs are breaking out and breaking through walls and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So, just wondering how you guys deal with that at all.
Yeah, I mean that's mostly in the models that are outside of a local environment. So you're talking about, Claude being able to pass security of other companies and get into data. Those are concerns. But the way we're looking at implementing AI is not from a mainstream ChatGPT, Claude implementation for a business. It's a local model. It's a local learned model where you're using data internally and you're not going outside of that.
I'll just add, it's a great question, Ron. It's on everybody's mind, right? So it is a clear and present discussion in the AI industry. On Concurrent AI's platform, we're utilizing Google, and Google has taken measures to, secure the models that we're working with. So as David said, if you're using Claude or OpenChatGPT in and of its own, you may have those issues. And we need to be, if we're working on projects, we need to be security compliant in order to, run and support those projects. So we worked quite a bit on the enterprise side on the security protocols. Yeah.
How are you checking for hallucinations? I mean, I could see all this analysis getting done, and then it's like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah,
Oops.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good question. When I talked about the human and the digital worker, any one of these workflows has human in the loop. So the output is going to come to you, is going to come to the people that are working on the project. You have the ability to look for those issues if they come up. That's why building workflows, working with workflows and digital workers, and you saw that intelligent um, worker category I talked about. It's important to have the models to be consistently trained, which we've been doing, to reduce any issues like that. But you're always going to have a human in the loop in order to, quote unquote, quality check the outputs. So that's the way it has to work for now. But to be clear, the agentic model is not a prompting model. We actually set up agents to support the specific goals of the project, the task associated with the project, and the actual workflow of the project. So think of just agents, workers that are doing those tasks, creating output, and the human has the ability to look at that output and to quality check it, and then to continue to retask it if necessary.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
yeah.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind. Actually,
Sure.
it's a question and a concern. So I realize we
Wait,
probably should be
Chris,
doing AI.
can you just introduce yourself? Sorry,
Oh, I'm
I should
sorry,
have
Chris
gone to.
Tyler, New York Geothermal Supply. So we own a couple distribution companies. We distribute HVAC products, and I'm trying to imagine how this would work and what kind of tasks it might do for us. Obviously, it's not going to pull product off the shelf, and it's not going to deliver it. So, what would you see in our business, how it might help? And the second one is more of a concern in that I had a customer, a contractor who was using Chat GPT, and he actually wanted to use one unit on two air handlers. And he asked Chat GPT how he could do this. And Chat GPT produced this document that looked like it came straight out of Climate Master. I looked at it and I thought, why would Climate Master do this? This is all wrong. This won't work. And I sent it to Climate Master, and they're going through it. They're trying to figure out who produced this document because it was emphatically wrong and it would not work. And come to find out, then the contractor fessed up that Chat GPT made it. And so, this is a legitimate concern that I have. It scares me the hell out of using anything AI.
Yeah. David, do you want to talk about that first, or you want me to give it a go?
You go first, Brad, and then I'll.
Okay, so to take the first part of it, I would imagine that you have data in your business, right, around pricing. You have libraries, you have things that you work with and data that you work with that you might be able to standardize. And I think what David talked about in the assessment, and that's why we're doing this, is first understand your business, your current technology, your data, and then your type of processes internally that support your business. And I can tell you, Chris, in the AI readiness assessment that we're talking about, we are not going to recommend that you go with OpenChatGPT to create 3D drawings. I can just tell you that that's not going to be part of it. You should not be utilizing generative AI in any type of three-dimensional drawing scenario ever. It will not work. It will give you false drawings, and everybody in the industry knows that. So the readiness assessment is going to recommend a closed environment with the right AI tool, Claude, others that might support what you're doing. And as we talked about, go through a pilot, test it before you scale it. And just jumping to OpenChatGPT and letting it loose in your business is not what we're advocating. Don't do that. So I think we're trying to take a methodical, thoughtful approach to understanding everyone's environment, to creating a customized plan to support your business. And truth be told, I mean, I own businesses. Our data is good. It's not great. It's bad in other in areas. We need to support it. We need to wrangle it. We need to cleanse it, curate it in order to get ready for AI. And I think that's one of the most important things you could take away from today is foundationally, you need to make sure that your data is ready in order to support any type of AI going forward.
Yeah,
And in your example, Chris, I would imagine he may have been just utilizing, I don't know what he was utilizing, but the drawings and the 3D renderings are not what you want to be utilizing for at the moment.
yeah. This document looked like it came straight out of their install manual. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So we have 3 locations, and I imagine that somehow AI could help us tie the 3 locations together, because right now they basically operate almost completely separately, and they have different sets of data set too. So, but
Yeah, and that's where you start, is the collation of data, creating a system of truth, having the ability to create governance on top of that, and then get ready for AI. We're not suggesting that you just jump in and start utilizing AI. And that's where people, David talked about it, have a problem and stop. And they say, I'm not going to use this anymore. Well, the fact of the matter is the rest of the world is moving forward with deploying AI in their business. And we're trying to, support the geothermal industry and the adoption of geothermal in a thoughtful, precise way in order to support the growth of the business and the growth of geothermal. So that's the way we're approaching it.
thank you.
Anybody else? Questions? Is anybody utilizing enterprise grade Claude right now on the call? Anybody utilizing Microsoft or Google Gemini?
On a personal level, I usually, but it's the free stuff that you get off of an internet search or whatever.
Right.
And I admit I do find it surprisingly helpful. I
Yeah.
actually made a poem for my wife one day out of it. It was hysterical, worked really well.
Okay.
But I've used it for other things as well. So I can see where there would be a benefit for it if I could figure out where to implement it.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to go ahead.
Yeah, and Brad and David, wouldn't like the AI that I might use to help me write a Word document, or reply to somebody where I need to sound maybe a little bit more professional than my normal vernacular would be? Wouldn't that be much, much different than the AI that you're talking about with, geothermal, readiness and evaluation?
David, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, it could certainly be a part of it, right? Like for me, I use AI personally to draft emails before I write them. So the time that it saves me to, get certain thoughts already put together, and then I only need to edit that, is kind of a different workflow than what you're talking about, Christine, where you're taking the time to write the email and then you're asking it to spruce it up for you. So there's areas where you can save significant time with AI and still have a human touch, and not worry about it just doing things in an automatic way. So yeah, that's kind of my answer.
Yeah, but is it not still different though? Because it seems like it's calculations and a bit different than trying to write an email.
Yeah, definitely. So, like in Chris's example, I've seen huge leaps in integrations of data, right? Like only a couple years ago, you'd have to have some sort of middleware application to ingest data from one system and push it into another system, and you could have that, bidirectionally. Now I'm seeing AI implementations that take 1/10 of the amount of time to integrate data across different businesses and different departments and across different locations for a significantly less cost for a business in just money to implement plus time to implement. So there's small wins where you're gaining a little bit of time here and there from automated functions within certain departments and people, up to huge wins where you're integrating data across the business. So there's lots of different use scenarios.
Just to help everybody else, and I see that Ron is talking about he's not using enterprise grade, but he's using Claude Pro, which is, I would assume, paid for. So anything paid for is much leaps and bounds better than anything that you're using for free. I put in the chatbot.ai, which is something that I use, which is the ability to utilize all the different models, the AI models that are out there, and give you the ability to test what works best for you. And whether it's writing an email, creating a spreadsheet, whatever, there are 12 different models that are aggregated underneath this chatbot AI that you pay for monthly. And you have the ability to utilize Gemini or Claude, Opus or Fable, which are two new versions of Claude, to help you write emails or to help you write a proposal or to create some type of personal work efficiency. And it's a really, really good platform. I'd recommend it. Take a look at it if you haven't done so already. David, I'm going to pull a quick audible, and you're going to hate me for this. But Eva is, Chris asked the question, how could you utilize this? Is there a way you could show Eva for like 3 minutes to this team?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Here's an example of a tool that has been developed. And I've been talking to David about it for a while. That is a productivity tool that can be used in any business. So David's going to show you kind of an iteration of what's possible in generating AI in your business. So I'll turn it to you.
Yeah. So this is Eva, my executive virtual advisor. And this is what I use on a daily basis to run my business. So essentially, I've integrated it to the areas that touch my business, my Fathom recordings, my CRM, my email, my Slack, and Apollo for business development needs. And so essentially what this is doing is it's pulling all the context from my meetings, from my emails, and it's delivering my data in a way that I can act upon it on a daily basis. And so this is just a little bit about what it has done this week. So it's written 50 draft emails for me. It's caught 6 replies. It's found 3 intent signals for business. And it's estimated conservatively that it saved me 18.3 hours so far this week. And so what I do here is, my business mostly runs on referral partnerships. So people I know in my network that have, clients, they introduce me. That's how I get most of my business. And so this interface is really a way to keep track of all those relationships, judge their health based on the last time we've talked, the last time we've emailed. And this is a way that I can follow up with my referral partners. If I take you into my Today tab, which my computer's running a little slow today. This is really where I work out of on a daily basis. So it briefs me on all of my calendar appointments, who I'm meeting with. It I also built this recent meetings tab. So essentially, this will be everybody that I've met with in the past 14 days, who needs to be followed up on, who doesn't need a follow up, who I've already followed up with. And then it takes me into my actual queue of how I'm dealing with this on a daily basis. So if referral partners mention potential introductions, deals that are in my pipeline, draft emails. So this is where I do a lot of my work. So kind of to Christine's point about sprucing up emails, essentially, I have all the context of my relationships with the people that are emailing me, and it drafts an email based on that information. And then I can go in here and actually just edit the email, copy and paste it into Outlook and send it, or just send it straight to my Outlook as a draft email and send it. So this has saved me a ton of time because it already pulls a lot of the context of, let's say I just had a meeting with this person. It pulls the context from my recording and puts all my responses into the email. And then I've also built it in a way where it's checking against the person to make sure that I haven't recently followed up with them. It has a grounding in the information on their card. So every person has a card, what we've talked about, emails on file. So everything about that person and about that relationship is how these emails are being built. And so this saves me a ton of time because, okay, I can, I hit on that point, I hit on that point, I hit on that point. Maybe I need to restructure something. I save it, send it to my Outlook, and I can send it. So that's how I'm working with that. And then these are just, the people in my network. So anybody that's kind of slipping away that I haven't talked to in a while, I can, go into their card. I can draft up an email. And then, outreach to them. So that's kind of how I'm using it on a daily basis. Obviously, every company is going to be different. All your tools are going to be different. The way you work is going to be different. But this is just an example of, what I've done and how I'm managing it at my business.
Yeah. So thank you, David. I mean, this is a good example of creating a platform for your data and your systems that you're working with and that integration that David talked about, and then creating task agents to actually do the task for you with the ability to have it integrated with all of your operating systems. And then have the human in the loop being you to support. And I know that Bob and others, said there are ways in which to make sure you're generating outline or, refining your prompts to get the right output. And this, again, this is an example of something that David has spent hundreds of hours in developing, but is an agentic digital workflow, digital worker-based platform. And again, is available to talk about if anybody's interested.
Yeah. Looks like Laura has a question.
Yeah, I do. Is this interface something that you built?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. This is like advanced, level of stuff, and just in terms of bridging between, I think that when people hear AI, they think about the sort of ChatGPT and drafting content, and that's a really good place to start. And the suggestions that Bob put in the chat, as well as I'm thinking back to this presentation, this panel at NY-GEO that I know Eric was on, where one guy was saying, like, my job used to be developing things, and now I spend a lot more time just reviewing a lot of like AI slop. And, AI can produce a ton of content that like looks really nice at first glance. That's the sort of ChatGPT type of generating of prose.
Mhm.
But then I think as you start to use it and, following the tips from the chat where you're making sure you're always reading it past that sort of surface level of nice wording, you sort of start to get used to and think of ideas of how could this help me. And, through my experience, I've only been using, I'm a Claude lady, Claudia, I like to call her, but first it was, help me with my resume and branding and make all of this, text come together. And then I was like, okay, so what am I doing a lot of that, technology could help me save time? And so then I built sort of a job link scraper, check all of these sites to find jobs for me. And then here are all these leads. What do I do with these leads? Put them into my CRM. And so you kind of, as you become more dexterous with using this, you sort of start coming up with ideas for how it could help you. And generating content is one thing, but also the things that are manual for us that you find if you find yourself doing something over and over and over again, um, that's the type of thing that AI can really help with. And I think that concurrent, thinking about the types of things that as a business we do regularly and that require a lot of research, um, always with a human touch, but um, how can I save time by, giving the AI those manual things so that I can apply my brain to higher value? You have all of this information collected in one place so that you don't spend your time collecting the information, you spend your time like acting on it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even for me, as simple as running my CRM, HubSpot is notoriously slow. I don't touch my HubSpot anymore. This interface updates all my deals, all my opportunities, all my notes, all my contacts, all my referral partners. Everything happens here, and I never have to go into my CRM and waste time loading a screen and trying to find a contact and trying to update them. So that alone has saved me hours and hours of time. And on average, by Friday, I've saved over 100 hours of work time. I'm now effectively doing, 3 weeks worth of work in 1 week.
All right. All right. Well, I thank you for that, David, and Laura.
Yeah.
Thank you for those comments. I know we're over time. Appreciate NY-GEO having us. Christine, John, thank you, and everybody have a great day.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Well, just before we let everybody go, my thank you to you guys for being here. Um, our next Lunch and Learn is September 15th. Our friends from Walker Blue will be joining us to talk about transferable geothermal tax credits, what buyers expect before they write the check, which is a big deal right now. And then just a reminder about NY-GEO in April to attend, exhibit, sponsor. And with that, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Let's go, Geo. Bye.